Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys. We are entering into a new month, which is January 2024, which means I will be going over my top 10 most anticipated releases during the month of January 2024. A quick disclaimer when it does come to my list, I am not an encyclopedia by any means, so obviously some of this information can be off or different. It's based on what I have found on the internet, and a lot of these dates could change because all of these books can be pushed back or moved forward. We know how the collected editions world kind of functions at this point. So without further ado, we can go ahead and move into the top 10. But a quick reminder that if you are looking for any of these books or want to pre-order any of these books, that you can use the channel sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. You can use the discount code STAYNERDY to save yourself $2 on that order. Or when ordering 4 or more books, you can use the code STAYNERDY, ship it together, to save yourself 5% on that entire order. It's a great way to save yourself some money, also pre-order some books you're excited for, but it's also a great way to support the channel, and every little bit counts, so thank you for that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the top 10, starting with, of course, number 10. Coming in at number 10 is a manga, I think. It's something I've never heard of before, but you guys are going to understand why it's in my top 10. And that is Crueler Than Dead, the 2-in-1 edition. This has a cover price of $19.99, a release date of January 23rd, 2024, and a page count of 416 pages. So this is published by Ablaze, which I've typically ran into when getting overseas comic books that have been published in hardcover format, such as Vampire State Building or Life Zero. But this seems to be a manga, at least based on the description. But obviously, judging from its cover, you guys know that I'm very interested in this because this is a zombie tale. I've made it no secret at this point that my guilty pleasure in comics and manga is always zombies. It has always been zombies. I don't know why. It just always scratches that itch that always needs scratching. So I'm very excited to check this out. I usually try to include a book that I've never heard of or read on my list, just so it's something that much more for me to be excited about, and that's exactly what this is. I haven't read a single page, chapter, I haven't even seen this cover before, so it's going to be completely new material, but I am extremely excited to check it out, especially if it's a manga, because as you guys know, I've been getting more and more into manga and indies. That's kind of been my second wind of sorts when it comes to collecting and reading the medium of comic books, I guess. So I am very excited to get into it. Obviously, I will let you know my thoughts, but I'm probably going to enjoy it. Even if it's not that great, I'll probably enjoy it somehow because it has my guilty pleasure in it. But I'm sure a lot of you guys that maybe knew about this title knew it was going to make an appearance in my top 10. So that's why it's in the top 10. No surprises there, but we can move to number 9. Coming in at number 9 is another horror-centric title, which is The Incredible Hulk Volume 1, Age of Monsters. This is a trade paperback, and you all know that I typically don't pick up trade paperbacks, but this title has been so great so far, I want to dive deeper. We do have a release date of, let me find here, January 16th. We have a price tag, since it is a trade paperback, of $19.99. And we do have a page count of 168 pages. So this is the Philip Kennedy Johnson run on The Incredible Hulk that did follow the Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley Spaceship Hulk run, which definitely wasn't a hit for me and a lot of other readers. But throughout this run, you do have a sole successor of the Immortal Hulk title, which I kind of describe it as that because it is a much more horror-centric title, once again focusing on Bruce Banner, the Hulk, their relationship with a complete and total horror vibe. I've only read, I want to say, 2 issues of this so far, so I have about 3 issues in this trade paperback. That's going to be brand new material, but absolutely kick-ass, very reminiscent of Immortal Hulk. You have art by Nick Klein, great artist, adds that very much edge and grit that a horror Incredible Hulk title really needs, and it is really good stuff. Kennedy Johnson, as I stumble over my words, needs no introduction at this point. He is an incredible writer. He's really been booming. I want to say he really took off during his Action Comics run, during the whole World saga on Superman, but he's just becoming more and more prominent, more and more of a household name in comic books, and I'm very excited to see where this title goes because so far, from what I've read, it definitely feels like something I would enjoy because it is very much reminiscent of Immortal Hulk. But with that being said, if you didn't enjoy Immortal Hulk, you might not enjoy this particular run, but still, I feel like there's some merit there. There's some merit in most of the runs, whether we like them or hate them. There's always something there that can pull us in, hopefully. But definitely excited to check this out. I'm sure this will get an omnibus. We all know that Marvel kicks these things out pretty quick, but still, it's worth checking out. I'm very excited to jump further into it and see what Philip Kennedy Johnson has in the tank for the Incredible Hulk. But that does wrap up number 9, so we can jump into number 8. And coming up at number 8 is Tokyo These Days, Volume 1. At least it's solicited as a Volume 1. This is also solicited as a hardcover. This has a cover price of $28, a release date of January 16th, and a page count of 216 pages. So this is Taiyo Matsumoto's work. He is a mangaka that I am a huge fan of, whether it comes to Sunny, Ping Pong, Number 5. Number 5 is a title that I've wanted to collect into the library for a very long time. Incredible series. But honestly, I haven't read this title. It's not something that I've already had the pleasure of reading. But the fact that this is Taiyo Matsumoto and it's also a hardcover, a manga hardcover, I'm gonna pick it up. If a manga is published in a hardcover format, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to track it down and try and get it into the collection just because I love hardcover formats that much, and I love manga specifically collected in like a deluxe edition format. But this looks like an absolutely beautiful title. It seems very heartfelt, but honestly, anything Taiyo Matsumoto pretty much writes and draws is either heartfelt or beautiful, touching in some form or fashion because he's honestly a master of the craft. So definitely something that is on my radar, not something that I've read, even though I've read a lot from the creator. So I'm pretty certain it's going to be something that I'm going to like just because I've liked so many of his other titles, but we will obviously get it in and find out here shortly. So I will let you know once I do end up reading it. But if the story or the creator rather isn't a attraction enough, this hardcover is so beautiful. It is a front and back image of a watercolored bird. It's, you know, I'm a sucker for beautifully taking care of books when it comes to how the content is collected, and this is no exception. Absolutely beautiful from what I'm seeing, at least the pictures that are solicited. So definitely going to be something that's going to be on my radar and that I will be checking out. Let me know if you guys are interested in this work or any of Taiyo Matsumoto's work, because I obviously am a huge fan of that mangaka and I love to talk about all of his manga in general. But that does wrap up number 8, so we can jump to number 7. Coming up at number 7 is the Judgment Day Omnibus by Marvel. We have a cover price of $125. We have a release date of January 16th and a page count of 944 pages, so not really into that 1,000 page count, but still pretty up there. So this is pretty much the Avengers versus X-Men versus Eternals event. This is a event that took place in Marvel Comics somewhat recently, like very recently. This was a full-on crossover event between those 3 titles, those 3 books. Has to do with celestials and judgment of characters in the Marvel Universe, being extremely vague there, but it was very interesting, a very different event overall. This was Kieran Gillen's brainchild, pretty much, kind of rolling it out of, I want to say, more of an X-Men mindset or X-Men title, because a lot of the story elements have to do with the X-Men and the Eternals and kind of how they view one another and the similarities and differences, and then the Avengers are kind of caught somewhere in the middle. So definitely a fairly interesting concept, and it's pretty awesome to see a crossover between Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals, all three of those teams, and honestly see the Eternals just involved in general because they've been so under the radar for ages now, I feel like. And I fully am aware that the main reason they were probably included was this is probably around the time when Eternals, the movie, was coming out. I don't remember the exact dates of that film or when this event was coming out, but the Eternals were being a little bit more pushed. But still, I do like what Kieran Gillen ended up doing with the X-Men and the Eternals, and kind of played with a lot that was previously established in other Eternals books, and played with aspects of the X-Men that were being built up in more current runs of X-Men. So really good stuff, a lot of fun, a lot of really cool scenes, especially when it comes to a lot of the Judgment type scenes, which you guys can read to see what I'm referencing there. But really cool stuff. Definitely recommend it. Definitely a book that I'm adding into my collection. But as I've said on the channel before, I love events, Marvel events, DC events. I'm a sucker for them. As long as they're not popping up every 2 seconds like they kind of are in comics today, then I'm typically a huge fan of them. But this is definitely something I'm adding into my collection. Also, you do have a lot of focus on Icarus, Captain America, and Cyclops, if you can't tell by the title or the cover that I'm putting up here. So, and you guys know I love Cyclops and Captain America. So, definitely some pretty solid stuff. I don't think it's the best Marvel event, no, but I do think it's worth the read. There are some pretty cool scenes and pretty cool story elements that are kind of delved into, and it feels very different. It's not as action forward. I feel it's a little bit more thought provoking too. So definitely worth the read. But that does wrap up number 7, so we can jump into number 6. Coming up at number 6 is Power Rangers: The Lost Chronicles Deluxe Edition hardcover. This has a cover price of $75 and a release date of January 2nd, so technically out at the point you guys are watching this, and then has a page count of 448 pages. You guys probably saw in my last haul, which I can leave up above if you haven't watched, that I am trying to track down those Power Ranger deluxe editions. I want them all on the shelf. I want those beautiful covers, those beautiful spines, and this is the next in the, or the most recent in the lineup, not the next as far as I'm collecting them, but the next to be released, and I'm going to start collecting them because I plan on getting them all eventually. So from what I have heard, because I haven't read this material, this is going to be more of the one-shots and the side stories collected into one volume, which I consider to be essential, so I'm going to still grab it, especially for the cover alone. If you guys have seen these things, they have beautiful covers and beautiful spines, just beautiful books in general, so I'm going to try and get my hands on this while also collecting the previous volumes. It's going to be a challenge, a little bit of a feat, but it's what I want to do. So we're going to try, fingers crossed. Pray for me to find those books. But definitely some really good stuff as far as the material that I have read. Shattered Grid stuff, the resurgence of Power Rangers in now comic book format has been absolutely awesome. And I'm going to be very excited if I am able to catch up to all these deluxe editions and start collecting the more current ones that are coming out, like this one. So definitely worth checking out, not just this hardcover, but this entire title if you are a Power Rangers fan, because it is really, really good stuff. It's a breath of fresh air for the Power Rangers franchise in general. But I do have maybe something pertaining to this in the haul that will be coming out Friday. May have to watch and find out. But that does wrap up number 6, so we can head on into my top 5 choices for the month. And coming up first in the top 5 is Devil's Reign, the omnibus. This does have a cover price of $100, a release date of January 9th, and a page count of 680 pages, not 608, 80. So a pretty thin omnibus here, but we are getting it as a $100 omnibus, even though we used to get these for $75, but we know everything's more expensive now. But still, great event once again. Much more recent event. Again, very similar to Judgment Day. I want to say they almost came out back to back. I want to say it was Devil's Reign and then Judgment Day, then Devil's Reign. Correct me down below if I have that wrong, as far as which one was more chronological or came first. But this is Chip Zdarsky's brainchild. This is the event that rolled out of his Daredevil run, which is a incredible, and I mean incredible run. So check out his Daredevil run if you do end up enjoying what's in this omnibus. But this is kind of a Civil War in some ways, Civil War like event where you have a new mayor or ruler of New York City. This character has some or obtains a special ability and sets some rules in place, being extremely vague there, but there are huge ramifications to all of the heroes in New York. Some massive events take place. The status quo of New York, the Thunderbolts, some teams are drastically changed for the future of Marvel. So definitely something you may want to read, especially if you're into more modern or current comics. This is a more modern or current event, so reading a lot of those modern or current ongoing Marvel titles, some of what takes place in this event may still be affecting those titles. So definitely worth reading though. Chip Zdarsky is great at what he does. He is an incredible writer. He's great at writing dark stories, but he's also an incredibly funny guy. So he has a lot of fun here. It is very Daredevil centric. It's also very New York centric. You're not going to have, cosmic level heroes like Silver Surfer or Thor or any of these more powerful characters popping up. This is going to be much more street level oriented, which is kind of nice, because we haven't had very many events like that. Like a lot of large scale Marvel and DC events in general have to do with the widening universe of that comic universe. So it is a street level event, but it is worth checking out, especially if you're a Daredevil fan, because there's some important stuff that takes place here. And if you like most of the heroes that are in New York City, like Spider-Man, Luke Cage, then this is something you're going to want to read also. But that does wrap up number 5, so we can jump to number 4. Coming up at number 4 is Daredevil by Mark Waid and Chris Samney, the Omnibus Volume 2. This has a cover price of $100, a release date of January 2nd, so it is already out at the point that you are watching this. I may or may not have already gotten this. And a page count of 768 pages. This is our favorite red horned street level superhero, but with a twist. His story is being told through a much more lighthearted and not as doom and gloom style of lens, which is a breath of fresh air. You still do have very Daredevil centric stories being told here. He is still a crime fighter. It's not going to be, a slice of life or a romantic comedy or anything along those lines, but it is just a little bit more lighthearted, at least the overall tone and vibe of the run. But the main reason that this is so high on my list is because I've had the volume 1 of this particular run for ages now, and I could never get the volume 2 because it was so long out of print. And here we are finally getting a reprint. This is why I tell you guys to wait on Marvel omnibuses specifically, because Marvel is reprinting these things like crazy. There's no reason to pay overprice ever, overprice ever. But you do have also throughout here the artwork by Chris Samney, who is the artist from Firepower with Robert Kirkman. So if you did enjoy that title and that style of art, you're going to be getting a lot of the same here. One of the things that I think he does incredible during this run is the illustration style that he lends to Daredevil's senses and how he kind of illustrates it in the panels. That's probably what this is very well known for, at least when it comes to the art or the aesthetics of the run. So definitely worth checking out if you're a Daredevil fan. If you want something just new or fresh when it comes to Daredevil also, this is the run you want to check out. But obviously there's a volume 1 before this volume 2, so you may want to try to track that down before getting this, or get this and wait for the reprint of Volume 1 like me. Whatever floats your boat. No harm, no foul, but that is my number 4. So we can go ahead to number 3. Coming up first in the top 3 is Scott Pilgrim, Precious Little Slipcase Collection. This has a cover price of $89.99, a release date of January 30th, and a page count between all 6 volumes of 1,208 pages. Don't quote me on a lot of that information. It was kind of dodgy to find online. So this is obviously Scott Pilgrim by Brian Lee O'Malley. He's doing the writing and the art. He is also known for Snot Girl. I don't know if any of you guys are even interested in that title or have read that title, but he is a very manga-like artist. And during this particular title, he is telling a romance style of story, but with a twist, a gaming and manga-like twist to the storyline. It's very relatable. It's very slice of life. It makes you feel young again. It has drama. It has action. It has a lot of relevancy to things that we are into, such as gaming, movies, animes, you name it. All of those references are kind of making an appearance during this entire story, but really great stuff. This is highly acclaimed. Most of you, I would think at this point, have seen the live action movie, but this is its source material. This is what came out before the movie. This is what the movie is based off of, and it is great. This is collected in many other formats, and I've always wanted to collect it, but just kept holding off, just hoping and praying that there's going to be a oversized format or something. But I think this is the best we're going to get, which is pretty much like a box set style of collection. There are full color editions and black and white original editions. I'm probably going to go for the full color just because it's like manga, but it's not manga, and I like to keep my comics in color and my manga in black and white. Anyway, we're getting super off topic, but definitely worth the read. Really great story. The film is great. This source material, the story is incredible, absurdly relatable, especially if you're a young man and you're reading this. So definitely recommend it. Great stuff from a great creator, and it's one of those titles you have to read before you can say, you know, you've read comics. You just have to check this title out and, you know, just give it a whirl, give it an old college try, and see if it's your cup of tea or not. It may not be, but still, you got to try it, got to read it, see if it's something you'll actually enjoy. But that does wrap up number 3, so we can jump into number 2. Coming up at number 2, I think most of you could have guessed this was going to be in my top 3. It is Spider-Man Clone Saga Omnibus Volume 1. This is a reprint. We have a cover price of $125, a release date of January 30th. It's going to be a busy end of the month. And then we have a page count of 1,240 pages. Seems very large. So this is the, I guess, infamous at this point Clone Saga, the event that spanned through all of these Spider-Man titles. This is the event that introduced us to Ben Reilly, Kane, and it just kind of unravels from there. It definitely goes on too long. I think I can agree with most people's analysis of this particular storyline that it does go on far too long. I mean, this entire event is 2 massive omnibuses to collect it, which not even then, honestly, it's 4 omnibuses if you count the Ben Reilly omnibuses also. So a lot of content went on way too long, but I am a Clone Saga apologist. I love the Clone Saga. Mark Bagley on art during a large portion of this. Some of his best art, in my opinion, is during the Clone Saga, and I am a Ben Reilly fan. I've always been a Ben Reilly fan. Sensational Spider-Man, love that suit, love the character, love the concept of the Clone Saga, but I do agree, went on a bit too long. But this is honestly a lot more exciting because we are getting reprints of the Ben Reilly omnibuses also. So coming up here, we'll hopefully have all 4 of those Clone Saga omnibuses to finish the entire story, and that is absolutely awesome. This was a longtime whale. This particular omnibus and the Ben Reilly omnibuses have been longtime whales for me as a collector, and here we are. They're getting reprinted. Yet another example of why you guys should wait and not buy these on the aftermarket, because that reprint is always coming. And here it is, one of my whales getting another reprint. So super happy about that, super pumped. And obviously I'm going to read it. I'll probably put out a review for you guys, let you all know how much I love it, and then you guys can comment down below and tell me how much you disagree with me. But still, great in my opinion, worthy of the #2 spot, even though some will probably throw that metaphorical tomato at the screen once again, but still worth checking out if you're a Spider-Man fan. This is 90s Spider-Man. This is my era of Spider-Man. This is when Spider-Man was kick-ass and badass to me, so definitely worth checking out. But that does wrap up at #2, so we can jump on into my #1 most anticipated release of January 2024. And my #1 most anticipated release for January is Thor by J. Michael Straczynski and Kieran Gillen, the Omnibus. This is technically a reprint, but it's actually an expanded edition. This is, or has, a cover price of $125. It has a release date of January 23rd and a page count of 1,144 pages. We previously had just the J. Michael Straczynski run collected in omnibus format that is long out of print. It's a real skinny guy. It's still worth reading, but here we are with an expanded edition. We have JMS's run that leads into Gillen's run, which immediately leads into Fraction's run. So if you didn't get that Thor by Matt Fraction, you kind of are going to need it for that gap filler between the Jason Aaron and the now Straczynski and Gillen omnibus. So hopefully you guys picked that up when that was coming out. But great title here, absolutely incredible. This is Thor's return to Marvel Comics after the events of Ragnarok. This has Asgard floating above Oklahoma, and Thor left to pick up the pieces of what's left of Asgard and his god-like friends and family members. There are some pretty drastic changes to Thor's lore and Asgard's lore, but still a great run nonetheless. It does get a little bit cut off during the Siege event because J. Michael Straczynski's run leads up to Siege, and then that's kind of when Kieran Gillen takes over, or a little before Siege maybe is when Kieran Gillen takes over. So if you want to get the full reading order leading into that Siege event, this is some essential reading here. Definitely something you want to check out, because Siege has everything to do with Asgard above Oklahoma. But also, it's J. Michael Straczynski, one of my favorite writers on Thor, kind of being able to have fun with the character and tell his own story. He was actually promised to have no events impede on his run, but of course Siege came around and completely broke that promise, and he skated out of there, and then Kieran Gillen came in and finished the run. But still great stuff. It leads beautifully into that Fraction omnibus, but this is probably my favorite, or at least the Straczynski portion of this omnibus is my favorite Thor run, or one of my favorite Thor runs. I think it's so fresh, so different. Thor comes back with a vengeance. He's badass and angry, and I love it. And it's pretty action-packed and has some pretty interesting or lore elements expanded upon. So definitely worth checking out if you're a Thor fan, Siege fan, modern Marvel Comics fan, whatever you may be. You should check it out. I know I'm going to check it out, but hopefully some of you guys got that Matt Fraction omnibus, because it does lead directly into that, and you can have all of Thor in chronological format if you wanted to do so. But that does wrap up my #1, and that does wrap up my top 10. That does wrap up my list, so thank you so much for watching. As always, I am still getting over my illness or my sickness. A struggle once again to talk, so apologies for if I am screaming on camera or choking on my words, even though that's kind of normal at this point. So make sure you guys watch my video on Friday, which will be my haul video, I am going to have a little bit of a bigger announcement when it comes to not only the future of this channel, but just some life announcements in general, just for you guys to be aware of as we move towards those events. But if you are not a part of the community, hit that subscribe button and join the community today. It is a flourishing community that I am so happy to be a part of. I thank each and every one of you guys for being part of this community and watching my videos and the content that I put out. I don't deserve you guys as a fan base, but I am extremely thankful that I do have you all. I love each and every one of you guys. Also, if you could do me a favor and hit that thumbs up icon, it's a little gesture that does mean a lot to us on the channel. And if you did enjoy today's video and you want to be notified when more content like it gets uploaded, you can hit that bell icon and that will turn on notifications for the channel. But once again, thank you each and every one of you guys that do tune in, that have been watching, that have been part of this community, this journey that I've been on throughout YouTube. And of course, stay nerdy.